Alright, good morning everyone, Dan the Glassman here, and I'm back. I just was watching some videos a little while ago about things going on over there in East Palestine, East Palestine. Everyone pronounces it differently, and I'm not really sure how the locals pronounce it, so I guess I'll just wait until a couple more of the different news, well, not news, but the town hall meetings and things like that, so that way I can really listen in on the townspeople there and what they have to say and everything that's going on. I just noticed this fell down. When did this fall? Maybe that fell the other day when my friends came in. One of the heaters here, survival heater, and very soon should be able to test it out real soon here. We'll see if it works. I need to get a better wick, but I think this wick may actually work. It just might eventually start to burn or start to melt because it's kind of like a felt kind of material. It's not carbon felt, so if I had carbon felt, that would last forever. So good morning everyone, I'm Dan the Glassman. Welcome to the Glassman's World. We're about to get started here. I'm just gonna get the torch turned on here and get things going. Also, let me see if I can get a couple things up here on the computer. And that way we can actually see what's going on here. I can maybe read on some of the current events, some of the information and things that are going on with stuff happening over there in East Palestine. So, good morning. I'm working on all of these water drops here. So I'm gonna pretty much just let you guys see all the glass done today. I got to get these into. Let me see if I have my. I don't have my container here, so we'll just put these in. Let me see if I can just find something on the side here. Yeah, that could work. This is eventually going to be another burner that I'm going to work on. So we got the can within the can, and eventually we'll have a new burner style there. But we'll just put these into the jar here. So there's 37. We're working on 100 water drops here. So this is known as the drop of water. So the drop of water is my own personal campaign, my own personal endeavor of basically gifting these water drops to water protectors, to those who have dedicated their lives to protecting water, to protecting the ocean, the river, different waterways, and many people do it in many different ways. Some people are right on the front line. Some people tie themselves up to trains and to different construction worker vehicles and to different things, and then some people, they're just doing it from home and sending as much information, or they're actually the ones on the phones calling up all of their representatives, their congressmen and women, their senators, and everyone who's actually in power, to actually let them know what's really going on, because without them knowing, nothing can really get done. So, there are many different levels on how you can actually be a water protector. There's individuals who just protect water in their own homes, and they do the best that they can in ensuring that they're not wasting water, that they're conserving water, that they're not polluting their own drinking water supply, or not polluting the water supply going back down into their sinks. Individuals who've gotten away from toxic chemicals in their own homes, You know, those are water protectors. You know, everyone else, they without realizing it, unconsciously, they're contaminating the water supply. Which, you know, who's to say that that's not just as bad as what happened in Ohio? Now I understand vinyl chloride is very toxic, but we all need it. You know, like I was saying the other day in one of my videos, we all need to take our own personal accountability for what's going on, and all of these chemicals that are getting shipped to where, to who, which company is purchasing, which company is supplying, and where is it going to for what applications, you know. And that the vinyl chloride apparently is used in PVC piping, which in every home, in every rental, whether you own your home or you rent, we all have PVC pipe. I bet you there's a PVC pipe right here, you know. Look, just looking right there, bam, there's PVC that close by, because that's how that's how much we have it in our world, you know. Like, but I'm in my studio right here. I'm not living in my studio, but I'm in my studio, working in my studio here. So yeah, I've got different things laying around, different items, you know, because this is a kind of my workspace here. But yeah, and this isn't true PVC. This is some sort of a tube for something, but it is. I'm pretty sure that is the PVC, but it's not, you know, what you would be using for plumbing and things like that. But we all have plumbing made from PVC underneath our sinks in our homes, whether we rent or we own, you know. So we all utilize this chemical, and this chemical, sometimes we have accidents or mishaps or events that have been created. Like in the movie White Noise, you know, I was watching that movie, and it's really interesting. Just the opening scene, he's talking about the professor there, and he's the only actor that I recognize in the movie. I'm sorry to say, but he is. In the opening scene, that professor there, you know, the one with the afro, he is the only one that I recognize as an actor. Everyone else, people are like, oh no, that's the guy from Star Wars, or that's the person from so-and-so. I'm like, I don't, like, to me, they're no-name actors, you know. And if they were in one series or one episode of Star Wars, you know, it's like, well, yeah, you know, like, was any other actors from those series, or did they ever make it big in anything else, you know, besides Harrison Ford, you know, besides Han Solo? You know, like, no one else really made it big, you know. Like, you didn't know Luke Skywalker in any other movies, right? You didn't know the person who, well, maybe the person who played Darth Vader, maybe he was someone important, I think so. But either way, I don't really follow celebrities, so it was a funny comment that I made, like, no-name celebrities, and then I got a lot of backlash on that. That's why I'm talking about it, I guess. People are like, you don't know these actors? I'm like, yeah, they're no names to me, I guess. So that individual who was the only one that I recognized, you know, that individual there, he was speaking about how filmmakers, they create a lot of wreckage, you know, their special effects in movies. He's specifically speaking about car crashes, right? He's not talking about train derailments. He's talking about car crashes, and he's specifically talking about how in every film, you know, from the beginning of time, or from the beginning of filmmaking, film history, because, you know, I think they're in a film class, or maybe they're just in history class or something like that. But he's talking about film history and how every film that contains some sort of a accident, car accident like that, that the special effects department, that the filmmaker, they go out of their way to make it even more and more complex, more and more realistic, more and more emotionally captivating, more and more appealing to the audience. And so then there's this psychological thing that's going on there that they're talking about in the movie White Noise, where people are drawn, that a crowd is drawn to these events, especially these events that revolve around a person's life ending. You know, I got to watch what I say on here because of certain keywords and phrases, right? But, you know, certain, I guess, fatalities, I think that's a safe word to say here. And that these events that people watch are so exciting, so explosive, so amazing, you know, so appealing, so gratifying to watch. And the book White Noise was written about how in the 80s people were so drawn to these events, you know, subconsciously, unconsciously, or consciously, whether they know it or don't know it. Individuals are drawn to these events, right? We're going to start making the drop of water here. And so they're drawn to these events, you know, for whatever reason. And they gather in these massacres. And so from that point, what is the point of it all, except for in the movie White Noise, he just says, you know, it's just to gather, just for the crowd to gather. But in the book, it talks about how the people in the 80s, basically they have succumbed to watching television so much that now when they see real life current events on the news, through the media, that it's simply just watching these events as though they're just watching television. And so all of these events here, you know, for all of us, unless we're actually there at ground zero, on the site, on scene, boots on the ground, you know, unless we're actually there, you know, the true emotion of what's really happening is, it's up for interpretation. Anyone and everyone then at that point can feel however they feel with it. You know, they can all self-absorb it in their own ways and then be able to self-relate with the situation compared to other situations they've been in, other experiences they've had. Maybe someone's already experienced this, you know. But one thing that was interesting is in the movie White Noise, you know, you have actors, you have extras and people background and stuff like that. And apparently, one of the families who was cast in the movie White Noise as some of the extras in the background, that they were actually now, they live there in East Palestine, and they're going through it. They were already like in it, in the movie, in the scene, and now they're actually living it in real life. You know, and I, as an individual who works in film myself, I can think back and really, I can see how a lot of films that I've worked in, they've shown a little bit of what maybe the future might bring, or some sort of events that might happen. You know, when I was working in night shift, there was one of the episodes, I forget which episode it was, but I think it was in season 3, maybe season 4, but I think it was season 3. And there was like some sort of a outbreak. I think it was meningitis. Possibly, I don't remember 100%. But I just remember, like, you know, we're just on set and in the scene, sitting around. Everyone's just sitting on these hospital beds, these hospital gurneys, you know. And we're all pretending to be sick. And then, you know, a few years later, there's this huge outbreak that happens, and then the whole world is succumb into some interesting situations that we were just pretending to do on set and film. So, you know, I always pay really close attention to what's happening in Hollywood and in the films, because I know that truth is always hidden in fiction. And it's working on set, it's always fun to see what they put in film and how they like mix things together and stuff, and how they mix the real life scenarios with fictional, fictional and non-fiction all mixed in. So it's a really beautiful story all created in Hollywood. And so, understanding that these events are created in a way to create sensationalism, what's interesting is that East Palestine, there's hardly any media coverage on this. So for me, and I don't want to say anything is true or false or anything. This is just my own speculation. This is my own opinionated narrative here. So, hopefully YouTube doesn't ding me here for anything that I say that goes against the narration, the narrative that they are wanting us all to push or whatever. But, this is not being covered by mainstream media. If this was a false flag scenario, a fake one that they really wanted to hype up and sensationalize, then they would have, all of their people would be there already. All of their groups would be there. The Red Cross, FEMA, all the people that make money off of these crisis situations would be there. There would be people in hazmat suits, actually, showing how dangerous this is. There would be this huge narrative pushing on how big this is, and I think what happened is they created something so big that they don't want people to really know that this isn't a false flag, that this is real, and that they lit those chemicals, and now everything's airborne. And like in the movie White Noise, they consider it, or in I guess the second part of the book, the second part is called Airborne Toxic Event. So apparently now this is an airborne toxic event. Now whether the movie was just remade to be released right before this, and this was all planned or not, I do believe that these chemicals are real, and I'm just a glass blower, but also I was also just a jeweler before, right? Long ago, and I got out of high school right away. I was supposed to graduate in 94. I kept going to high school until 95. Never graduated. Eventually got my GED. But in the meantime, in 94, or 95 actually, sorry. In 95, when I moved back here to Albuquerque, I became a jeweler. And I started working with different chemicals in the polishing room. And I was warned on day one never to mix these two chemicals. We have one chemical that's in the, there's these, I forget what they call them now. The sonic baths. They put them in these like ultrasonic vibration baths with these chemicals. And one of the chemicals contains ammonia, which alone by itself, you don't want to be sitting there just huffing it, breathing it in. They always say to use in a well-ventilated area, right? Because it's that bad and toxic alone to begin with, right? And then there's another chemical that we use for like cleaning off the rings and getting them all clean before they went into the bath or when they came out of the bath, like one or the other, right? And so we had to make sure that we sprayed them off and steam clean them in between those two processes, or else you are going to be basically mixing ammonium with chloride. And if you don't know, let me be the first one to inform you that mixing ammonia and basically bleach, right? When you mix bleach and when you mix ammonium, you know that some people use different cleaners in their homes, not even thinking about that you create mustard gas. It's highly toxic and fatal, and you need to basically evacuate right away if that ever does occur on accident. So in my teens, you know, when I was only like 18, 19 years old, I learned about this because of a job that I was working at, right? But a lot of people don't have this experience. They don't know this. You know, they'll go out and they'll buy some bleach and then they'll use some pine sol, which I think is ammonia, and they'll mix the two together while they're cleaning their bathrooms, not realizing that they're creating this mustard gas and these highly toxic fumes in their own homes, you know. That's why my wife and I, we strongly recommend getting Norwex and getting away from all the toxic chemical cleaners and everything, because you don't want to have those accidents, you know. We can safely clean our bathroom with our children in there without having to open a window, without having to turn on any ventilation. You know, we can ask our children to go and clean safely without worrying if they're going to mix ammonia and bleach together, you know. How many parents simply just send their kids in like, hey, today's your chore day, you got to clean the bathroom. Go in there, there's some cleaners under the sink right there. Just go ahead and clean. You know, and like not even really ever teach them, don't mix these together. Oh, well, why are they even in the same place to begin with? Mom, Dad, why do you have them stored together if we're not ever supposed to mix them together? Isn't that dangerous? What happens if they leak? What happens if there's just some sort of accident happens? You know? But people don't think about these kind of things. You know, they only think about, oh no, the train spilled. You know, let's not worry about what's going on in our own homes. Let's just worry about the sensationalism of what's going on through social media. So maybe mainstream media is not covering it, but social media definitely is. All the TikTokers are out there covering it. A lot of individuals like myself over here on live streams like YouTube are covering these things and trying to let y'all know that when you mix certain chemicals, like they're already toxic by themselves to begin with. Vinyl chloride by itself, highly toxic to begin with, right? Now you start mixing it with one other chemical, extremely dangerous, right? Extremely toxic, extremely fatal, right? But now you got two other chemicals too. There's 4 chemicals. How many different chemical combinations or reactions are we talking about here? We're not talking about just mixing bleach and ammonia anymore. Now it's like bleach, ammonia, and maybe a little bit of nitric acid or something. Like, you know, what else corrosive and toxic are you going to add to that already mustard gas? You know? And I'm not saying that's what they made out there. I'm just saying that mixing ammonia and bleach and then adding another chemical to that, oh my gosh, right? So we're talking 4 chemicals here on this train. Now what's interesting that I heard earlier today is that there were 50 trains carrying this stuff, right? This chemicals. Now, on one video that I was watching this morning, it was a train engineer who was showing how he's hypothesizing himself on what might have happened. And he's an inspector, right? He's a train engineer, he's an inspector. He's got his radio on his truck, on his vehicle there, right? He's got his work vehicle that he drives around in. He drives up along the train, and there's these things called defect detectors, right? So they look for any sort of defects that are occurring on the train as the train's rolling by. And apparently what I never knew until watching this video is that they actually have cameras on the side of the track, on each side of the track at certain places. So you might see these metal boxes, right? And inside the metal boxes, they got these computer systems set up with all these sensors, and you got all these relays and all these switches and everything, and it's notifying the engineers who are working on the rail there if it detects any defects, right? So it's a defect detector is what it's known as, I guess, a rail defect detector. There's possibly two cameras. So there's one camera that checks the what's going on with the wheels on each side of the track. And then there's another camera just right next to that one that checks the bearings specifically. And I think these are thermal sensor cameras. So they check any sort of heat on the wheels and any sort of heat in the bearings, right? Now, the engineer said that he's not 100% certain on what was going on in the spot where, and I'm trying to remember, I don't know if it was Stanton, but it was somewhere where the train had come from, like 50 miles away or something like that. And where he's saying that defect detector maybe was defective in itself, right? And on this video, he's actually out there just checking on a defect detector that was actually defective, right? So that's why he was out there. So he was kind of talking about what he was doing out there, how they worked, showing what his job was and everything, and how these little metal boxes, what they contain and how they work, right? And he was saying how he doesn't know, but maybe it's only got one camera to check the wheel and not check the wheel and the bearing at that defect detector wherever the train was coming from 50 miles away. Because I guess he works right there in East Palestine, I believe. So he was showing that in East Palestine that currently, which I don't remember exactly when he made this video. You know, it was just uploaded a couple days ago, but I don't know exactly when he made the video. And so, he was showing that detector was actually defective, and they had a train running over to test it. And he was saying, okay, well, this train right here might be going a little too slow, but we should still get some sort of reading and whatever. So on his dashboard, he has a CB radio, right? And the dashboard radio comes back and it'll tell him, do some beeps and then tell him defect detected on this wheel or this axle or on this car, you know? So it actually tells them specifically which car on the train, which axle, which wheel, you know? And it also said the train was going too slow. So then they had the train come back. So they were like running this train back and forth. I didn't know that they do this. They run trains back and forth on the same track to actually test out these defect detectors. And so they had this train come back again on a higher speed. It had a better reading. And then there was a delay. He was like, "Wow, it didn't detect anything." And then it came in, and then it said that defect wasn't detected. And he was like, huh, well, that's interesting. So then he went over to the box, right? The metal box that's right next to, like when you go to the railroad crossing right there, there's these little metal boxes on the side. And in this box, you know, they got the computers and all the sensors and everything that's in there. And apparently, what's interesting is that he said that all they did, because he's like, oh, I guess it fixed itself. Like, now it's working. Like, what do you mean now it's working? You guys didn't fix the problem? There was no defect detected. Or it was saying that there was a defect detected when there wasn't one. Like, they ran up and down, walked up and down the train to see if there was any heat coming from the bearings or coming from the wheels. And they couldn't find anything with their manual readers, right? Their thermal readers, as they walked up and down the whole entire train. So then, when they ran it through the defect detector, it was detecting that they had an issue, right? So then they were like, well, there's no issue, but it's saying it has an issue, right? So the defect detector is defective, right? So then he says, as he goes back over to that metal box, he says, you know, that's interesting. It's working now. What do you mean it's working now? You didn't even fix anything. So we just, you know, beforehand it wasn't working, but all we did, we turned on the space heater. There's a space heater on the floor. He said that all they did was they turned on the space heater. So maybe electronics, you know, when they're cold. But that's weird, right? When electronics heat up, they tend to not work well. When they're cold, they're supposed to work better. You know, you always want to keep your computers, you know, that's why they have fans built in. You want to keep them cool. You want to have a cooling system. So that's weird that the heater fixed the problem just by turning it on. Not that they heated up anything or whatever, they just turned on the heater. And he's like, huh, like sometimes weird stuff just corrects itself like that on the railways. What do you mean it just corrects itself? And he just walked away like, all right, my job here is done. So that's the defect detectors that we got. They're defective. And apparently they work when you turn your space heater on. So maybe the one that was 50 miles away, they forgot to turn their space heater on, you know? Maybe that's the case. Now, I don't know if this gentleman was planted to give us that kind of run through, right? Or if he was just doing his own thing, because that's his job. He said he's got all kinds of videos from beforehand where, I mean, these are the videos that he creates for his YouTube. Like, yay, how fun. He's got a railroad channel. People are into that kind of stuff, you know? I would find that quite boring, but it was interesting this morning to be able to get that education on how those things work and the cameras and what those boxes even were. I didn't know they were actually a room. You could walk in and check out the different little things going on in there. So yeah, I find that interesting that they just, they're like, okay, it's fixed now. It fixed itself. So if that's how they're working things, you know, then who's to say that someone forgot to turn off the heater or turn it on, and now it's not working properly because it wasn't turned on, it wasn't turned off. Just a space heater. So that's an issue that needs to be investigated, right? Something's going on with the wiring. There must be a default, a short in the electronics in the outlet there that the heater's plugged into. There's something that's not right. Something's shorting out there. My father was an electrician, so I kind of know about that kind of stuff. Even though I'm just a glassblower, you know, I do have a little experience with electricity and electronics and things like that. I did grow up around an oscilloscope, which many people don't even know what that is. So, pretty cool. wavelength, energy, vibrations, frequencies, being able to visualize them on a screen. And so anyways, you know, a lot of people aren't getting any sort of information from this except through people like me, other individuals. So I've been following individuals, and I've been also creating a playlist, or many playlists. So many of these videos, many of the videos that have to do with this are either in a playlist called The Worst Disaster in U.S. History, or the biggest, the largest disaster, and it'll probably be the worst. I need to probably fix that. And there's another one called the Ohio Train Bomb. There's another one which I don't know if I can even say that. Oh my god. Ong nong nong. Hey, what did you say? I don't know what I said. I'm talking about bonbons. You know those chocolates? And so, man, gotta be careful with those key words and phrases, right? So, there's another playlist called I forget. There's so many different playlists that I've been adding these videos onto. I have a playlist called Check This Out. A playlist called Surviving the Great Reset. Surviving the poly pandemic 2023, because that's what I see is happening. We got a lot of different situations or events, whether or not these are filmmaker events being made, being created to create sensationalism, to create that unification of getting the crowds to gather in masses. You know, when you get all the crowds together in masses, that's easy. You know, when you get all the cows together and you herd them all into the slaughterhouse, that makes it easy, right? If you can get all the fish, all the schools of fish into a barrel, you know, like shooting fish in a barrel, it makes it easy, right? The crowd control. So when you get the crowds together, and that's a weird thing that I saw in that movie, or I picked up on in that movie White Noise, was just that very first opening and what they were talking about. Like, okay, and how they create these events. And how there's a beauty and how it's glorified, and it's just so interesting. But my opinion on that is that, yes, there is a sort of beauty, because what happens is what they're doing is they are bringing these crowds together, right? Now, if these crowds, when they're all brought together, can be persuaded to vibrate in a more positive energy, vibration, frequency together, right? Instead of fighting with each other, then we could actually have a really good outcome from certain crisis events and situations. But people don't like to unify. People like to do things on their own. They like to, like recently, the earthquakes in Turkey, China's going around and helping out a lot of these individuals, right? But then they go and they plant their flag on the pile. Like if they're staking claim to that pile, we saved all the people here. They're putting their flags, right? Like, what are you guys doing, man? Just go save people. We're not there to like, oh, look at my victory. This is what I did for your people. It's really interesting if you really pay attention to what's going on with certain things like that. You know, it's quite interesting. But I don't know, a lot of people don't pay attention to those things. A lot of people can't decipher through the madness and through all the distractions. Alright, so I'm working on the drop of water here. And the drop of water, the significance of the drop of water is that it's a symbol of a water drop. It's one of the most simplest forms of glass that I can make. I can replicate this over and over again. Basically, the message from God came to me one day and said to make something that'll symbolize water, clean drinking water, that you can replicate over and over again so that you can take them to the masses, basically. So from that time, I've been making these and gifting them to water protectors from all over the world to thank them for honoring and protecting Creator's water. And so I honor them for honoring the water and for basically protecting the water, for basically doing the job that we're all supposed to be doing anyways, which is to be guardians and stewards of this vessel, of this planet Earth. And so that way we could actually make a better place. Isn't that what Michael used to sing? So yeah, we could all have unification, and through these events and crises, we could actually come together and unify and make true changes. But instead, what happens is we get split apart. We get torn apart during these events and these crises, and we don't know how to work together. We don't know how to behave as grown adults. You know, we become like ravaging monkeys or something. I don't know. I don't know. Something happens to us, and all morale goes out the door, and our animal instincts kick in, and we become primordial creatures once again, and all fending for ourselves instead of realizing, whoa, we know how to work together, guys. We don't have to do this whole fighting for ourselves, fighting for our own survival. Like, no, it's for the survival of humanity. Once everyone understands that, then maybe we can really utilize these crisis scenarios, events, whether they're real, fake, false flags, or horrible Chernobyl disasters, whether or not they're, epic and true and real. The truth of the matter is we can actually turn all this around, and we can find the silver lining in all things, whether it's positive, negative. We find that silver lining, and I do believe that we can come together. Now, I was just watching a video. This new guy, I just subscribed to him yesterday. I forget his name. Cinema Shogun? Is that what your name is? Cinema Shogun. He's real. I've commented earlier that, damn. But I said, damn, dude, you're real AF. And I think by putting that word damn, I don't know if the comment didn't go through or something. Because then I couldn't find it again. I'm like, oh, what? Where did my comment go? Because I was trying to reply on my comment, and then I couldn't reply on it. Like, it wouldn't allow me, like it got deleted or something. And that was weird. So I commented again and just let him know that I subscribed to him, and I really appreciate that he's real as fuck, and or AF. Sorry, YouTube. And that basically I guess that wasn't within the first 30 seconds, right? There's all these new rules and policies on YouTube. You can't curse within the first 30 seconds of your video. You can't have any kind of, any sort of horrific explosions or things that look like it's people getting injured or hurt, or really interesting. So even video games, you know, you can't have any sort of anything like that happening in your first 30 seconds of videos, or you'll be demonetized and you might even be canceled and taken off the platform. This censorship is getting real these days, man. You gotta be careful what we say. But go on ahead, bring it on, Babylon. We don't like what you tell us to do. Bring it on, Babylon. We'll make a difference, what we're saying, what we do. Bring it on, Babylon. We don't like what you tell us to do. Bring it on, Babylon. We'll make a difference. I'm tired of working for you. My days should not be spent slaving away. No, no. While you profit off of me, you take away any chance of economic unity. I know in my heart that this is not the best way to live. So stop what you're doing, don't give in. The Babylon, what's this confusion in your head? They'll work you so hard. They'll work you so hard till you're dead. Bring it on, Babylon. We don't like what you tell us to do. Bring it on, Babylon. We'll make a difference when we say what we do. Bring it on, Babylon. We don't like what you tell us to do. Bring it on, Babylon. We'll make a difference. Alright, so yeah, that was a song called Babylon that I wrote or co-created back in 2004. No, sorry, Babylon was created way back in the 90s. Dang, like in 99, 98, 97. I don't even know when I created Babylon. I was created like right out of high school. In between the time I got out of high school and I joined my first band, Suits, which was formed into Chronic Logic. Chronic Logic, like a chronic disease, a constant disease, constant logic, chronic, always having, chronological, it's all within the time. Chronic logic, like the chronic, logically. Alright, so getting back to what we were talking about, the drop of water has been gifted out to over, to 3,766 individuals. That's how many I've been able to keep track of so far. This coming weekend, actually, I believe Saturday or Sunday, I'm supposed to be joining a group of individuals who are part of a group called ABQ Clean or ABQ Cleanup. And what they do is they go around, they organize events to clean up different areas, and they're going down to clean up the Bosque down at what we call the Tingley Beach area, which we're nowhere near the ocean, guys. But they call it Tingley Beach because apparently there's a beach next to the river. You know, pretty much the river is a beach. There's hardly any water flowing through it these days. The Rio Grande should be more the Rio Pequeño. But it is what it is. So we're going to be down there cleaning up the Rio Grande River. I believe that's this weekend. I'm thinking it was for the 25th. And also I want to give a shout out to my brother. It's his birthday today. Happy birthday. Just remembered. I need to get on the ball and give him a call. So this Saturday coming up in 5 days. So yeah, I believe that's this Saturday will be the ABQ cleanup, which I think they're meeting just south of Central Avenue, which is Route 66. A lot of people around the world know Route 66, and that flows right through here through Albuquerque, New Mexico. So that's Central Boulevard to us, or Central Avenue actually, and they're meeting, I guess, just south of Central right there at Tingley Beach. Probably in that big parking lot where it's just dirt, you know, the dirt parking lot there on the south side, but the north of the south side. I don't know if that makes sense. The north side of the south side. And so I'm going to be taking a bunch of these water drops out there to individuals that I see are really picking up trash and really, like, you know, a lot of them won't even know who I am or what I'm doing, right? And I'll just be like, dang, man, you've been out here like all day picking up trash. Here, brother, let me gift you this. We're helping to clean up our waterway. And they won't even know, you know? And I'll make sure to gift out the individuals who organize the ABQ Clean. And I'd like to thank them for organizing these events. And also just let them know that if they want to participate and join forces in the future, that we can actually make this happen, and I can sponsor their events by basically gifting them drops for individuals to just thank them for cleaning up the places around the water. So anytime that they do water cleanups around the river, around the Bosque, around the, you know, wherever else that we have water, we have different lakes and different things around the state. And so yeah, if they want to really dedicate themselves to doing these cleanups, I will dedicate myself to gifting out to more water protectors. Now what I normally do on my cleanup days is I ask individuals to come out and help me pick up at least 4, that's the sacred number, sacred 4 bags of trash, you know, which that takes a couple hours, right? And yeah, you can easily just purchase the drop of water for $10, you know, and save yourself, you know. But maybe if you're out there for at least an hour cleaning up, maybe that's the value of what it's worth, you know, an hour or two, and then you're gifted the drop of water for just being out there and helping. So I'm hoping to surprise a lot of individuals this weekend with that. I've tried to reach out to the organizers, but I don't know if they're either just ignoring my offer, or they just don't check their messages. You know how that is. I don't check my messages all the time, and I realized the other day that my the drop of water page is not connected with my real profile. It's like its own separate page, so I have to sign out of my Facebook page and then sign back in to the Drop of Water Facebook account so I can actually check those messages and everything. So I haven't really been posting much, and it's weird. Like, why? I don't know how that happened or whatever. So, but yeah, I need to actually get back in there more often and let people know what's going on, because March 22nd is coming up, only a month away, you guys. March 22nd is World Water Day every year. March 22nd is World Water Day, and we'll be gifting out a lot of water drops. And I was hoping that we could get together with New Mexico treasure hunts. We tried to do this before we got shut down several years ago. Right around this time, 3 years ago, this is going to be our 3-year anniversary, guys, that everything got shut down on us March 13th, or March 15th, actually. It depends. March 13th, March 15th. Out here, our school, or my daughter's school, kept going until the 15th, so that weekend. 15th, 16th, 17th, which was the weekend I was supposed to be working the Monster Jam here. And so, yeah, I'll always remember when that happened. It's going to be a 3-year anniversary coming up here, guys. And that was right before we were about to do the World Water Day, March 22nd, Trash for Treasure cleanup, where we're going to have people going out there picking up trash. And New Mexico treasure hunts, what they do is they hide silver coins and money and different things from different sponsors. And we were going to be hiding a bunch of these water drops out there, and silver dollars, silver coins, and that way people can go and help pick up trash while looking for treasures. And also, I think what it was is we were going to basically make sure that people went out there and they picked up, like, I don't think we had it fully organized, but I think we were going to have people pick up trash, and when they came back with their trash bags, then we were going to, like, award them with a drop of water, you know, because I wasn't going to hide a whole bunch out there, and then, you know, like, what if they didn't all get found? Then I have to go try to figure out which ones were found and which ones weren't. Or just leave them there forever. But then we're littering at that point, kind of. So that brings us to water protection, guys. So water protectors are individuals who have put their lives on the line to protecting water, to doing cleanup efforts, to stopping certain situations from occurring, pipelines from being built through sacred waterways, or clean drinking water supply. So that brings us to what's going on again in East Palestine and the Ohio River. Now, I've heard there's a place called the Leslie Run, and the Leslie Run is actually contaminated. And a lot of the little minnows or fish they've found, and they've scooped them out, I guess, which is interesting because when it first happened, I guess there was a lot of fish that they found floating, and just the other day or yesterday, a guy did a drone footage, and he said that he was out there, boots on the ground. He's got videos of the meters that they're putting up, and the meters they're covering with plastic, which I'm wondering, if you cover a meter with plastic, doesn't that inhibit it from getting a true reading? You know, like if you had a smoke detector in your home and you covered it with a plastic Ziploc bag, like, wouldn't you want it to actually be uncovered so it would work properly? So these detectors are covered in plastic for some reason. He doesn't know why. Certain things are covered in tarps. He doesn't know why. He's got drone footage of things. But he's walking around with no protective gear. He's talking about how no one else has been over there with any sort of hazmat suits, which I'm wondering, you know, because FEMA hasn't gone over there yet, right? Why haven't they shown up? Are they waiting for everything to finally fall back down and settle before they actually put their boots on the ground? And then when they show up, are they going to come in hazmat suits? And do they not work on holidays, and are they waiting until tomorrow? Today is President's Day, Monday, February 20th, 2023, and it's a holiday. So you know, most of the government office and buildings, the buses aren't running, things like that. So yeah, maybe they're waiting until tomorrow. Maybe they have everyone has a day off, and they're just like waiting, like, oh no, we got a 4-day weekend, guys. We'll show up on Tuesday. Which would be kind of significant, because I heard that former President Trump and Aaron Brockovich were going to be showing up on Wednesday. Now, I think Aaron Brockovich already showed up there, and then they're going to be talking about something on Saturday. I think coming up this Saturday, another town hall meeting, and I'm not sure if former President Trump's going to be there or not still till then, but I think he's going to show up on Wednesday. Maybe FEMA will show up on Tuesday. I don't know. We'll see. And so, what's going on is that, the water in Leslie Run is all polluted, right? People in Pennsylvania are finally, to the east. I've been saying this since day one. Get out. Anyone who's in the airstream, the air currents of those chemicals in the airborne toxic event need to leave. Everyone that's east, northeast, southeast of East Palestine, all the way to the Atlantic Ocean, needs to leave and get to the west of that situation. Now, I understand can't do it. You have no means to do it. I can't even imagine right now being in the middle of the winter. It's got to be pretty cold up there, right? Compared to down here in the Southwest. We're in the high desert. Now, we're in the high desert, meaning that we're a mile up. We're a lot higher, which means we get cooler temperatures as well here. I've never compared our temperatures to Ohio, but I'll start doing that here soon to see what kind of region they're in and compared to where we are. But I have been paying attention to the current storms that are flowing through in our region and moving towards the east, and I understand the jet streams and the patterns and how sometimes that the Arctic pressures from the north will push a lot of that downward, forcing some of those currents to go more south than east or north. But usually in that Ohio region, we have the streams and then they'll go upward in that area and move upward into Maine and all of the New England states up there. And so, like I said, since day one, y'all need to get out. Now, the only reason why you don't need to get out is if this is just a staged event, if some filmmakers decided they wanted to play around and make a more bigger disaster, something to distract us over here, keep looking at this hand, don't pay attention to what's going on over here, just watch this, watch what I do. Did you see that? I didn't do anything. I was just distracting you. But that's what they do, right? They just distract you, right? Like here, look at this. Whoa. How did he do that? I don't know, but I just got another one of those drops done. Didn't see that. So yeah, whether or not this is real or not real, I don't know. Oh, I see. Finally we got someone chiming in over here. What's going on, William? Thanks for tuning in. Let me see if I can read your complete comments here. Says, hey brother, you know what they say, tomorrow never comes. In this case, it may become tomorrow. Oh, wow. Tomorrow, much to our sorrow. The system does even try to cover up their apathetic selves now. So yeah, I'm wondering, since this doesn't have any media coverage, this has got to be real. If they have a staged event, then they have media everywhere. All boots on ground, all agencies working together hand in hand. They're always congratulating each other. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being here. Hey, thank you so much. We're all getting paid. Woo! Smiles on their faces. They're so happy to work together. All the agencies coming together. Money, 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 money. Right? But this one, media is quiet. And maybe not so much now, but right away, media was quiet. Now, we're what, 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks later, right? Or about 2.5 weeks in, and finally, we might see FEMA coming in, maybe. We'll see, though. Like I was saying, they might be taking the day off because it's President's Day, right? And our government doesn't work on federal holidays, you know? They don't work on these. They might get paid holidays, but they don't work on these days. So we'll see if they show up tomorrow. But what people aren't really talking about is the water crisis. So there is a lot of contaminants that have seeped in to the soil and into the groundwater. So this town is done for. I mean, everyone needs to get out. Everyone needs to move. It was such a small town now. That's why, you know, in my own opinion, you know, this is my own personal for entertainment purposes only here, right? YouTube. I'm just entertaining the masses here. I'm not a doctor. I don't have a PhD in anything. You know, I don't know anything. You know, I'm just another person from idiocracy, right? Like that's all. So, you know, like I say always though, don't take my word for it. You got to read it for yourself. Cause in a book, take a look, reading rainbow. So you got to make sure you're always looking into your own information, right? Always double checking what I'm saying. I might be messing with you one day just to see, are you really paying attention? I do that. I might do that from time to time just to see, are you paying attention? I do that with my own wife at times, having conversations with her, and I slip something in just to see, you really listening to what I'm saying? I do that. It's fun. It keeps things all light and fun. Like yeah, don't take life so seriously, right? Even if it is tomorrow and full of sorrow, you can still bring heaven to earth. You know, no matter what. See, I never forget that we all are still going through the 4 stages of suffering. No matter what, through this life, we're all going through suffering. And the best thing to do is to lessen that suffering, you know, to just make it less, however you can, you know, in whichever ways that works for you, do that. But people aren't talking about this water situation, and that's what I'm here for. Water. Water is life, and every drop counts. And right now, the groundwater is contaminated. They basically dug a hole. They poured everything there, then they lit it off, set it ablaze. Now everything's airborne, right? So we got the airborne toxic event, but we're not talking about the groundwater toxic event, right? And just the soil and how everything there, this whole entire town is just, they're going to be leveled to the ground, you know? They're going to have to start over. Every home is contaminated. Everything, you know, unless this is all fake and there really isn't any chemicals that they're saying, unless this is all just a staged event and it's all fake, and they just somehow created some special effects by burning tires or something like that, which is still very toxic, you know? Whatever happens to Residence Day, right? The residents don't get nothing. That's how civilized we are here in this civilization that we live in. So, Leslie Run, people are talking about Leslie Run. People in Pennsylvania are finally talking about how they got hit they're feeling these effects. They're getting rashes on their skin. They're having issues with bathing and taking showers in the water. Headaches, burning throats, eyes, things like that, upper respiratory irritability, and the water. The Ohio River, the contaminants have reached the Ohio River. This has been confirmed. Now, how many miles away from the site, I'm not 100% sure yet. But I do believe that people are having issues 35 miles away from the site, guys. 35 miles away. Now, what did they do? They evacuated 1 mile. 1 mile radius. A 1 mile radius, right? People are feeling these effects 35 miles away, guys. So what does that mean? Does that mean that now everyone who didn't get a warning, they are entitled to sue the EPA, the U.S. government, the officials, the powers that be, Norfolk South Railroad, or Railway, or whatever they are, rail, whatever companies that are involved here, you know, that of course, if they ever do get sued, then you know, it'll be the taxpayers that are going to pay. The residents will have their Residence Day right there, William. You want to talk about Residence Day? Better pay your taxes. That's Residence Day, April 15th, coming up. So, the water in the Ohio River, guys. The Ohio River, from what I've seen, you know, I have a phone. We all have smartphones, right? So, you know, being a smart guy with a smartphone, I simply just opened up Google Maps, right? And I typed in East Palestine, Ohio, right? Just to find out. Now, first, I was looking for Palestine, Ohio. Kid you not. I was just looking for Palestine, Ohio, and I found it on the west coast of Ohio. And I was like, where's the train? Where's the tracks that run through the city? I can't find it. So weird. And I'm looking on the east part of the town, like, I don't know what's going on here, you know? And I'm like completely on the other side of the map, not realizing that the town is actually called East Palestine, or Palestine. Not that it was in Palestine and on the east side, like this is Albuquerque, and we have East Albuquerque and West, like we have the west side, Rio Rancho, you know, we got the northeast Whites, and we got the Snob Hill, and you know, you got all the kooky Air Force Base over here and all this stuff going on. And so, yeah, we got our areas, but I didn't think when I was first looking it up, I didn't think to look up East Palestine, Ohio. So then when I finally did, I'm like, oh, now it makes sense. There's a train. Now I can actually spot from a Google air view, from a sky view, right? I was able to find exactly where that accident occurred. I was able to find that blue building that had the four, I think they're propane tanks outside of it, which is crazy, right? I think those are propane tanks right next to that blue building. What is that blue building right there? I think there's also a gas station right across the street from there as well, right where that all occurred. And they just lit that thing up right next to a bunch of propane tank and a bunch of gas stations. That's really interesting to me. But they dug holes, they let it all seep in, so now the groundwater is screwed for life, you know? Like, these are forever chemicals. These are the PFAS, you know, the PFAS, the PFAS that we talk about. You know, my wife and I always talking about Norwex and getting away from the PFAS, stop using all these chemicals and stuff, right? And so, these are forever chemicals. And not only are they in the soil, and in the groundwater now, and seeping into the earth everywhere. We don't know what, like here we have Carlsbad Caverns, right? And we have this a vast underground waterway system underneath. Like they want to always tell us we're in a drought, we're in a drought, we're in a drought. Like we have this huge cave system underneath us that's full of water, guys. We're not we're not in a drought. Don't believe any of that hype. But they do know how to stop rain. So we might be in a dry spell, with no precipitation for a moment. But there's water everywhere, man. You just got to know how to extract it from many different things, from the earth itself. You can extract water from the earth itself, from the sky, from the air. There's moisture all around, from the plants and the trees. But you got to have a little ingenuity to know how to do any of that. And so the water is seeping in, right? But the Ohio River, what people aren't talking about, I simply just Google this, right? Follow the Ohio River. Follow the Ohio River. Where does it go? Where does it go? Where does it go? Where does it go? All the way to the Mississippi, to the Great Mississippi River, guys. The Ohio River connects with the Mississippi River, I think, right there in Arkansas. I'm not 100% though. Don't trust me on that. I don't remember 100%, but I know that it connects. Salem. Was it Salem? No. Maybe it was. I'm trying to remember right where it connects. There was a town, a city there, where they joined. The two rivers forked together to create the Mississippi even greater right there. And then the Mississippi, where does that go? That goes all the way to the Gulf of Mexico. So all the way down from Ohio all the way to the Gulf, that water is contaminated. Now, what level? Of course, as more water flows through, you're going to dilute it, right? So the parts per million, of course, are going to get a little bit smaller and a little bit smaller and decrease over time. But that doesn't mean that those parts are out. There's still some parts in there, whether they're less than parts per million or not. There's still parts in there. And it's still contaminated. And if you want to listen to EPA telling you that it's safe to go back home, then you really need to question your own IQ there. And I'm sorry to say, but you may be living in that movie, Idiocracy. You might be like one of the lead players in that movie there. So I would strongly question everything that's going on from any government agency right now, especially with what we just got pushed through in the last 3 years and how we're finding out the truth's coming out now, right? Yeah, and it's definitely going to go much further than 35 miles away. That's right, William. That's what I was saying since day one. Everyone, east of that, northeast, southeast, all the way to the Atlantic Ocean needs to get to the west of that. That's what I've been saying. Yeah, it was controlled. Yeah, we know all about controlled burns here with the hermits, right? All the hermits, the Hermit Peak. Yeah. And what's crazy is now, I'm hearing these stories on how they're talking about giving people a stimulus check to help them through this scenario, right? And like something like $20,000. I don't know if that was $20,000 for the whole town. I've heard that each individual resident there was offered like $1,000. Here you go. That'll pay your rent next month. Here you go. Since you've been displaced from work for 30 days, we'll just take care of rent. Man. The Mississippi won't be sipable anymore. Different spelling now. Mississippi. I don't know how to, I don't know what to try to pronounce that. But yeah, the Mississippi River is going to be contaminated. Now, one thing that people aren't talking about also is that the Ohio River, it's a large river, and this river flows through many different communities throughout the United States, the East Coast, the eastern part of the United States, right? What I learned is that the Ohio River supplies drinking water to 10% of U.S. residents. Now, does that mean that 10% of U.S. residents live over there alongside the Ohio River? I don't think so, because majority of populated areas are out here in the West, except for New York, of course, and then you got Florida, but you know, that maybe they take a lot of that water and then ship it out across the states. And so now we got to figure out, are we getting water from Ohio? Does your bottled water say that it was contained from Ohio? Are you going to be drinking contaminated water that's in bottles now? 10% of U.S. residents rely on the drinking water supply from the Ohio River. The Ohio River supplies drinking water to 10% of U.S. residents. So now, I don't know like how we're going to be able to determine what's safe and what's not. The only thing that I could strongly recommend is getting filtration systems in. Being that this stuff is happening now, my family, we're already prepared. We purchased our water filtration devices, and all I need to do is, I mean, I can easily just take one of the buckets I have right now from my planting system and clean it out really good with the Norwex and get rid of all that bacteria, and then use that for the drinking water. But I need to just basically just start with a clean food grade white bucket, 5-gallon bucket, and then I can build a system with our filters, because I didn't buy the actual whole entire system. It's a Berkey compatible filter, so I didn't buy a Berkey. All a Berkey is just a bunch of big stainless steel pots, right, with holes drilled in. One of them has a spigot on the bottom, the other one has holes to drip water through the filters on top. That's all a Berkey is, you know, it's just stainless steel. So you can get some really large stainless steel pots, cooking pots, and you can make them like that, drill holes in the lids, or, you know, even less expensive is just getting the white plastic containers, the food grade containers, and drilling a couple holes into there. I don't know if I have those filters close by to show you. I think they're up there. But yeah, they basically, each filter filters out 3,000 gallons of water, and we should be able to run water that has contaminants in it. So I want to actually get that label that's in the filters and see, does it remove vinyl chloride? Does it remove whatever, the methylhexylene or whatever else that they're talking about? That there's like 4 different chemicals that these trains were carrying, you know, and no one's talking about. And so, yeah, I would just highly recommend getting you some good water filtration systems, just getting the filters. The filters that we found, I believe the brand was Aqua Crest. I'm not 100% on that. I don't remember. When they came in the mail, I don't think it had Aqua Crest on there. So I'm like, were these the Aqua Crest ones, or are they something else? Yeah, that's going to be called the Dirty Mist now. The Dirty Misses. So, yeah, the Dirty Ohio and the Dirty Mississippi. And you don't want to be sipping from the Dirty Mississippi. They're just going to be calling it the Missing River now. The Miserable River. So, this is just the beginning right now with the water and the water flow, and I don't know how they're going to be able, like, I don't know, they have these, I call them floating, I'm sorry to say this, but I call them floating tampons, and they have these things that are like this floating right across the stream, and they're like trying to pick up like the, I guess like that oil sediment or whatever that floats on top. But, there's been so many different news reporters that have been out on the water and on the stream, and they just like raking the bottom of the water with their sticks, just getting a branch, a tree branch, a stick, and scraping the bottom, and then all of these iridescent colors pop up and bubble up from the bottom. All these chemicals are in the water there, but, they're just trying to clean it off the top with their little river tampons there, and that's not going to work, guys. They need to basically block up the whole entire river with hay bales, and gosh, what else could they actually really use? I mean, there's got to be some way. I mean, what I've learned is they've been using human hair, which is kind of disgusting, but you can use human hair to pick up oil. So maybe hair, instead of like straw bales, you get big old human hair bales, and figure out how to clean that up before it reaches the Mississippi, or we ain't gonna be sipping from it any longer. Or, well, I mean, yeah, people are gonna be sipping from it. I'm sorry to say, but people alongside the Mississippi, they probably aren't so in touch with reality on what's going on in mainstream current news and current events. Down on the bayou, there's people who probably still got black and white TVs, and still working with the rabbit ear antennas. I mean, we got that here too. We got people who living in trailers just right around the corner, living in the most, like, barely getting by ways, barely surviving. Maybe they don't even have internet, can't afford a cell phone. They still got a landline, and they don't have a TV. They just listening to the NPR news on the radio, and all they're getting is NPR news, and that's it. So, people don't know about this unless we are actually getting hold of all of our relatives, all of our friends, our family members, letting them know, those who live in those areas, like, yo, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but you need to get out. You need to go. Unless you plan to live in the fallout zone and you're ready to start wearing hazmat suits and always filtering your water and always boiling your water and distilling it before you filter it, or like filter it before you distill it. Like, I don't even know what's better. Are you supposed to boil your water first? Or are you supposed to filter it then boil it? I think you filter it then you boil, right? To make sure after it's been filtered to kill anything that might have slipped through. all I know is I'm real grateful that we got the water filters in before any kind of shipping issues started to really occur, and we weren't able to get them. And I'm grateful that we purchased them when we did, and we got a 4-pack for the normal price of like 2 of them, I think, which was really, really awesome. So a 4-pack is going to allow us to have, each one is 3,000 gallons of water. So we have 12,000 gallons of water, guys. And I figured out that every year for our family of 4, we need, I think it was like 12 or 1,300, which is under 1,500, which if each filter is 3,000 gallons, then we have 2 years on each filter. If these filters are 100% and they're not bunked, then we've got 2 years on each filter. And we can safely be like, well, let's just change it out every year, just to be safe, right? And then just use that filter for the plant, you know, and then change another one for our drinking water, so we just start fresh again, right? And make sure, let's not push it to the limit. Let's just use it for half its life or 3/4 its life, you know. Don't push it to 3,000, maybe only push it to 2,000, right? And then just start over and then use that filter. And then also what I heard too is, what if you run your water through that old filter first before you run it through the new filter, so the old filter can still work for 1,000 gallons while you're cleaning the other water, and then the other water won't lose its life so quickly, and it would actually last for that 3,000 gallons. You know, if you do a filter on top of the filter situation, then that's even better. And I have a real simple way on how you can distill water, but I don't know if it removes these chemicals. You know, I really don't know. But I think you can distill water and get rid of a lot of stuff out of it. You know, just like the natural way of how rain, condensation, evaporation works. And that if you have a big pot, you know, like the pot that I have is like, you know, a big 5-quart pot. And if you have a bundt cake pan, you know those molds that you make a bundt cake with? They have the hole in the center. It's like a donut, right? Donut pan, but huge. So you get those round pans, and if that pan, if you can flip it over, like, you know, the way you would pour the dough in and you would bake it, you know, where it would hold the dough. And if you can fit that into a pan and it fits perfectly inside the rim without slipping all the way down to the bottom, you want that. My bundt pan, it's got like a rim here, and then it kind of goes in a little bit, like a 1/4 inch, and it's rounded on the top, and it's got that little bit of a rim on there. So my pan fits perfectly. The bundt pan fits perfectly on one of my, I think it's a crock pot pan that I use, and then I just simply grab the lid from another pan and put it directly on that bundt pan. And all you have to do is put your water, your contaminated, and I've done this with salt water, and it was just simple tap water that I put a whole bunch of salt in. I made it like brine water, basically, you know? And I salted it really heavily, and I boiled it out, and the water, basically what it does is, and I used a glass lid, and the lid was really clean to begin with. I Norwexed it really well. And so that water, basically when it boils, right, it goes through the bundt pan, evaporates to the top lid, then it drips down the sides of the lid, right, as it gets hot, or not hot, as it gets heavy, the droplets, they get heavy, and they start to fall down on the side of the lid, and then they collect down on the side of the bundt pan, right? And so, so to basically collect that clean water, that bundt pan is sitting right there perfectly. So that's all I do, is I just slowly remove the salt out of the water and have it evaporate up to the lid and collect in that bundt pan. That's the easiest way that I can teach anyone on how to distill, make a simple distiller at home. Now you can speed up the process by putting a cold towel or putting a towel with ice on top of the lid and making that super cold so you condense it faster and all this stuff. But in the reality of it, you know, you just let that pan go, and you can burn this on a rocket stove, so you don't have to use a gas stove or an electric stove. You don't need electricity, or you don't need gas hooked up. You can do this on a rocket stove and just burn it all day, especially if you have a vertical feeder built into your rocket stove, and you can just have your rocket stove working all day without having to feed it. No work there at all. You just get it started and walk away. You don't set it and forget it. And you just let your water boil out, right? Get your rainwater, run it through a filter, and then boil it, I guess. I think that I would actually boil it first, and then I'd run it through the filter. That's kind of what I would think. And also what I would do, like if or when SHTF does happen, I will probably have a natural filtration system for the rainwater, so then I can run that through, sand and rock and charcoal with probably putting like mint leaves or tulsi basil in between the layers to help with the filtration process and the cleaning and purification process, and then run that through the Berkey compatible filters, and then boil it, or boil it first and then run it through the filters. I'm not sure which way is better. I guess if I had one of those meters that shows the parts per million and shows me my pH readings and everything, then I could probably do a really good experiment to see, is it better to boil first and then run it through filter, or filter first and then distill it? Because our filter, and what you just asked was, how do I demineralize my water? I don't really use the tap water direct. Now, the water that I get is from a machine that I pay for at it's $2.50, so $2.50 for 5 gallons, so basically 50 cents a gallon. And where I used to go was a place called the Water Windmill, and it's supposed to have like some 12-step filtration process or whatever, and it goes through all these different things, reverse osmosis and blah blah blah, and UV light filtration and all these things, right? And it's supposed to be cleaned daily, right? And then you see the person who's maintaining it, they go in and they just get the money, they don't wipe anything down, or they just show up because there's something wrong with the money machine not taking the money. So then you don't have people buying water from them, so they just make sure that that's working, and then they just leave without wiping anything down. I've witnessed this. So I don't know how clean that water is, right? Hopefully the processing of the computers and everything is doing its job, and all they're there for is to just collect the money and go, I guess. And then the other place is right down the street from us, which, now that we don't have a vehicle, I walk our 5-gallon block down in a cart, in a wheeled cart, because carrying 5 gallons is not so fun on your shoulders and your arms and forearms and everything. So, and then you're off balance, so it's better to carry 2. So then carrying 2 5 gallons, it's not so fun, right? Each one is 8 pounds a gallon. You got 40, that's 80 pounds that you're trying to carry while they're swishing and moving around, and their gravities are all moving around. Yeah, it's no fun. So I just roll them in a cart. I do one at a time, or the cart wheels will break. And I get our filtered water that, they're connected to the tap. So the tap water then goes through their filtration process. I don't know what their filtration process is up the street. And then we run it through our Niken PiMag filtration system that has a calcium coral rocks on the bottom, which puts mineralization back into the water. Good minerals though, the calcium coral minerals, and not bad minerals. So it actually makes our water more ISO, it makes it living water. And then it has a drip system, and the filter that it uses is one of those white, what are those, like a white ceramic filter. that you can basically reuse over and over. You just clean them, push the water back out through the pores the opposite way, and then clean the surface and then start brand new again. So my idea is keeping the Niken high mag calcium coral filtration system, the Vital living water system we already have, and running the rainwater through the Berkey filter and then into the Niken. So my system, I'm actually hoping that I can build a container that will actually sit on top of the Niken, which the Niken's already like almost 2 feet tall. So having another contraption on top of that, it might be dangerous. And I may just have to, just run 2 separate filters and not try to get too crazy like that. But I think it would be really cool if I could actually have the Berkey filters running directly into the Niken high mag calcium coral filtration system, and then we're set at that point. And then demineralizing, by boiling your water, you're getting rid of the minerals. And that's why distilled water is actually bad for you, because you're not getting essential minerals. It takes out a lot of minerals and things, but also the good minerals that we need as well. So that's why it's good to take in minerals through pink Himalayan salts instead of using regular white table salt or bleach. There goes that chlorine again, that bleach. You don't want to be using any of those chemicals. So people like to add bleach salt. They like to add a little bit of a sprinkled bleach on their food. That's what I should call it for now on. Some sprinkled. You want some of this sprinkled bleach? You want some of this sweetened, this bleach sweetener, the white sugar, instead of pure cane brown sugar? Let's get some of this this sprinkled bleach sweetener. So yeah, I don't know what I was saying. I was going off about filters. I just highly recommend everyone figure out how to filter their water in their own ways, whatever they feel comfortable with. All right, well, I'm done with 18 for now. I can keep on going. We don't have too much interaction going on right now. I see we got a few people here watching, and I know that some people might be working and lurking, which is completely understandable. I'll do maybe 1 or 2 more here, but I'm probably going to let you go. I just really wanted to hit on those topics about the water, talking about how 10% of drinking water, or the Ohio River supplies drinking water to 10% of U.S. residents. And you gotta word that properly, because if you start moving the numbers around, you can really figure out how to lie with statistics. That book that Bill Gates was pushing on us many years ago, How to Lie with Statistics. All you gotta do is just move numbers around, and it kind of sounds the same. 10% of U.S. water supply is all contaminated for U.S. residents. No, that's not what I was saying. I was saying that the Ohio River supplies drinking water to 10% of U.S. residents. So that means there's 10% of whatever the total number of U.S. residents, 10% of them gets drinking water from the Ohio River supply. Now, where does that water get shipped to, or who gets the Ohio River drinking supply? That's what we need to find out. Those are the questions that we need to have answered. Who's getting this drinking water? If these are forever chemicals, then what can we do about this? Is there anything that we can do about this? Are these the first U.S. no-go zones that we will eventually find out, or will come to be, and eventually they'll just say, no, this place really isn't safe, and we're sorry that we led you on to believe it was, but here's like a few $100,000 to compensate you for your loss of home and your lives. and your children's lives, or in the future, maybe issues that might come. And we'll help relocate you over here to the other side of Springfield, you know, or something like that. Springfield. Okay, so yeah, but the filtration demineralizes the water. Then it will actually pull minerals from our bodies. I put my filtered water on a negative magnet to recharge it. I guess I have to re-up on my knowledge. Okay, so yeah, so that's why we have the Nikin. It's pi mag. It has a magnet. And pi, I don't know what the pi stands for. But it has a magnet. So it does remineralize, and then the calcium coral rocks on the Nikin. Just look up a Nikin filter, Nikin water filtration, and also look up Nikin products. Because if you know about the magnetic process, and you probably understand why I drink water out of a copper vessel. Thanks for that reminder. Like, I need water anyway. And so yeah. Just look into the Nikin water filtration. But you are correct. That filter, like I said, that's why I want to run it through the Nikin, so it gets through that high mag filtration system and the calcium coral rocks. So it revitalizes the water, idolizes it, turns it into ital, living water, and makes it good again. You know, and then you have the drip system, which, you know, like in a waterfall or any sort of water that's dripping, running, flowing, or in a cyclone, tornado effect, that will also help to reestablish the water and make it living iso-vital water as well. So yeah, but that's a good question there, and good info on what you do with mineralizing or remineralizing your water and bringing it back. And I'm wondering now, like, is that what they use? Do they have a negative magnet in the? Because I think it's in the actual spigot of it. Okay. That's good to know. Thank you for that clarification, William. Yeah, see, so my wife, she used to be a Nikin consultant, and she sold Nikin products, and they had those magnets, but, you know, I'm trying to also learn about this remagnification process and how to remagnify your cells and your DNA, and being able to use vibrations and sounds and energies, frequencies, tonal frequencies, sound bath, sound healing, light healing, all this stuff, and bringing it all together, so that way I can help out friends of mine who are suffering through different ailments, who are going through cancer treatments right now and stuff, and I'd rather them do it on a more natural, and meaning like more on this universal nature and the scientific way of vibration, frequencies, and energies, and I'd rather them go on this way, rather than, you know, doing chemo or doing any sort of chemical radiation therapy, you know. So it's good to know about using only negative. So is that what we're supposed to use for our bodies? Only negative magnets? Because I think that Nikin, they just have real super powerful magnets, right? And so maybe it's got to be like you have to lay the map down on a certain way. So the positive's on the bottom, negative's on top. Maybe the negative has to be grounded. Maybe you're supposed to do this on the floor, on the earth, in the grass, on the dirt, while the magnets are flowing up above. You know, things like that. People don't think about those things, right? Maybe you're supposed to put something in between you to help. Maybe you need to have what was it? Someone was saying when you hold copper in one hand and you hold don't think it was lead. It was, I don't think it was magnesium. It wasn't gold. It wasn't, like, what else was it? Iron. If you hold iron in one hand and copper in the other, while drinking from the vessel or something like that, or I don't know, something about that, having copper vessel in one hand and iron in the other, truly amplifies your own personal magnification. What do you know about that, William? Before I let y'all go, because we're pretty much in that 111, almost a 2-hour mark now. And we had a couple people watching, and now, or we have 3 people watching, now we only got 2. And only one person's communicating and chatting. It's interesting. And when I mentioned that, did I scare that other watcher away? Are you working and lurking? Like, no, oh no, they spotted me, I'm running. They want me to communicate and participate. It just helps me, because if I have others here and we can actually have a conversation going, then it helps me from like rambling on about who knows what, and I completely go off on tangents instead of staying focused on certain things. So having interaction here really does help. Also, having the interaction here helps with our algorithm. So the more comments that I get below, and the more likes, and the more shares, of course, the more people will watch this, and then the more my videos will get seen and show up on like that front page of YouTube. But you know, I don't really also like to push all that. Like, make sure you like and share and blah blah, like whatever. If you like it, you like it. You know, if you think it's important, you're gonna share it. That's how I work. You know, whether a person tells me share it, like if I find it necessary to share, I'll share. So that's why I try my best to give you pertinent information that should be shareable, at least in my opinion. Until I start rambling, and then it like makes it a very long video to watch. That's why I got to learn to keep these short, and I'll probably let you go. But yeah, if you know anything about that, with whether or not we're supposed to have iron in one hand, copper in the other, or how you're supposed to have the negative magnets work in certain things, like they have those. Let me turn this off real quick. They have those certain what was I gonna say? The products that they have, like blankets, and they have the magnets inserted into the blankets. I want to make sure that the negative side is facing on me, right? Positive going out, negative in, or is that for pulling out toxins? And then to bring in positive energy, you want to have the positive magnets on you. So that's a very interesting conversation that we'll have to get into on another video here, some other day, some other time, on another, when we have more time to discuss all that. But really wanted to just point out the fact that this has gone further than 35 miles away. It's just reached 35 miles away, but like, you know, William has also agreed, this is going to go a lot further than that. Like I've been saying, it's going to reach the East Coast, it's going to go south, it's going to go north, northeast, southeast from the site. So anyone and everyone who's there in that vicinity needs to leave. You know, my wife has been asking me again and again the same question, you know, and I keep telling her her family is very close there and they need to get out. You know, and they're not going to. They think they know what's going on and that they're okay and that they're safe. And it's sad because the blatant ignorance, ignoring to just even do a little research, to even like go test your water, Can you have someone test the air quality right now in your vicinity right now, in a mile radius away from you, coming towards you? You know, this this recent weather storm system that just pushed all those chemicals from Texas all the way up, created that tornado alley that was going all the way through from like where was those tornadoes? Like going up from, I don't want to say Mississippi. I think it was from Louisiana area, right? Maybe Arkansas, and going all the way up to that belt through like Tennessee and into Ohio. And it's just so crazy that, you know, people aren't paying attention to the jet streams and where the airflow is going to carry all of these airborne toxic chemicals. You know, this is an airborne toxic event that's occurred, and people are just paying attention to what the EPA or FEMA. Take one quick rip. All right, you guys enjoy your day off. Have a beautiful day.